Welcome to the Deep Journal channel. By subscribing to our channel before moving on to our video, you can be instantly informed about the last news and comments. The US's Ain al-Assad airbase in Iraq was attacked. U.S. officials reported that the investigation into the attack is ongoing. This attack, which took place the day after the U.S. Marine General Frank McKenzie's statements, had a great impact in the region. The veiled threat by McKenzie seems to annoy the militias in the area. Although it has not yet been announced which group carried out the attack, the biggest suspect is the Iranian-backed militias. It is noteworthy that Iranian-backed militias fearlessly targeted U.S. soldiers. The biggest change striking here is the Chinese factor. China is taking action to put an end to U.S. hegemony in the Middle East. We will examine what we mean about this and China's influence in more detail in a moment. A missile attack on Monday targeted a base housing American forces in Anbar province in western Iraq, the U.S.-led anti-Daesh ISIS coalition said in a statement. At 13:35 local time, Ain al-Assad Airbase, AAAB, was attacked by one rocket round, the coalition's official military spokesman, Col. Wayne Maroto, said in a Twitter post. He said no injuries were reported while damage was being assessed. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Maroto said investigations to uncover the perpetrators are underway, adding that the attack undermines the authority of Iraqi institutions, the rule of law and Iraqi national sovereignty. Meanwhile, the Iraqi Defense Ministry said in a brief statement that Katyusha rockets struck the vicinity of the Ain al-Assad airbase, without causing any significant losses. According to Reuters, the U.S. accuses Iranian-backed militia groups of carrying out regular rocket attacks against its troops in Iraq. Earlier this month, a booby-trapped drone attack targeted the same base, without causing any casualties or material damage. Ain al-Assad Airbase, one of the major U.S. Air Force superiors in the region, is located in the al-Baghdadi district, 90 kilometers west of Ramadi, the capital of Anbar state. It is the largest military base of U.S. forces in Iraq and was visited by former President Donald Trump on December 26, 2018. Over the past months, military bases housing U.S. forces in Iraq have been targeted with missile attacks, and Washington has often accused armed factions loyal to Iran of being responsible. Marine Gen. Frank McKenzie said the drones were difficult to detect and destroy, and he admitted the U.S. was struggling to deal with them. Finding better ways to counter such attacks was a top priority, he said. We're working very hard to find technical fixes that would allow us to be more effective against drones, McKenzie said. Efforts were underway to look for ways to cut command and control links between a drone and its operator, improve radar sensors to quickly identify the threat as it approached, and find effective ways to bring them down. We're open to all kinds of things, he said. The Army is working it very hard. Still, I don't think we're where we want to be. An armed drone targeted U.S.-led coalition forces near a northern Iraq airport in April, causing a large fire and damage to a building. The U.S. blames Iran-backed militia groups for such attacks. McKenzie said the militias were frustrated because they had expected U.S. forces to leave Iraq after the death of Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani and Iraqi militia leader Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis in a U.S. airstrike near Baghdad airport last year. They believe they can carry out attacks at a fairly low level that won't provoke a response, yet will create enough friction that will eventually induce us to leave, McKenzie said. I think it's a dangerous situation. Although there is not much talk in the world press, China announced that it was planning to send troops here by sending a delegation to Syria in early 2021. In addition, as per the agreement they signed with Iran at the beginning of 2021, Iran has almost become a Chinese colony. According to the agreement, the Chinese army will be able to maintain military bases in Iran and send troops to Iran. In this case, it can be said that China has become a neighbor to Iraq, where U.S. troops are located. After this agreement was made, Iranian-backed militias made a different attack on U.S. soldiers almost every week. If you ask me, the attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq should definitely not be considered independent of China. In addition, China made its presence felt after the nuclear negotiations that could not be reached and declared support to Iran until the end. After examining the comments in the Arab press about the Iraq attack, we will also examine China's statement of support for Iran. The Arab News newspaper, which announced the attack with comments, connects the attacks with the assassination of Qasem Soleimani and the Biden administration. The following statements are included in the news of the Arab News newspaper. Rocket and missile attacks against U.S. installations have been frequent since a Washington-directed strike against top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani outside Baghdad airport last year. That operation also killed powerful Iraqi militia leader Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis. The attacks have continued since U.S. President Joe Biden assumed office this year. Recent attacks have been more sophisticated with the use of drones. Earlier this month, a drone targeted Ain al-Assad base, causing minor damage. On April 7, Baghdad announced the formation of a technical committee to assume the task of approving the timing and mechanisms related to the U.S. troop withdrawal, while no announcement was made from the American side about naming a committee for this purpose. The support from China is what encourages Iran. Chinese President Xi Jinping said Monday that China supports Iran's reasonable demands concerning the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, on the Iranian nuclear issue, and stands ready to strengthen coordination with Iran and safeguard the common interests of both sides. He made the remarks in a telephone conversation with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Xi noted that China and Iran, sticking together and helping each other, have joined hands to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and achieve positive results in bilateral practical cooperation. The two countries firmly support each other on issues involving their respective core interests and major concerns, and have greatly consolidated their strategic mutual trust and resolutely defended international equity and justice, Xi said. Noting that this year marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between China and Iran, Xi stressed that bilateral relations now stand at an important historical juncture to build on past achievements and forge ahead into the future. China attaches great importance to its relationship with Iran, and is willing to work with the Iranian side to take the 50th anniversary as an opportunity to strengthen cooperation in various fields, and continuously push for solid progress in the development of their comprehensive strategic partnership, he said. China will continue to firmly support Iran in safeguarding national sovereignty and dignity, and is willing to provide as much assistance as possible for Iran's fight against the pandemic and help the Iranian people prevail over the virus, he said. Xi said China will also continue to play a constructive role in pushing for an early and just settlement of the Palestinian issue, and is ready to work with Iran to strengthen communication and cooperation on regional and international affairs, and jointly promote regional security and stability. For his part, Rouhani expressed appreciation for China's support and sharing of experiences during the country's fight against COVID-19. Reiterating Iran's commitment to the One China policy, Rouhani expressed Iran's support for China to defend its national sovereignty and territorial integrity while voicing the country's willingness to step up strategic cooperation in trade and energy sector, and contribute to the joint building of the Belt and Road. He hailed the signing of the comprehensive cooperation agreements between the two sides, saying the plan will bring bilateral cooperation a brighter future. The Iranian president also thanked China for its just stance on the JCPOA and regional issues such as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Iran wishes to continue close communication and coordination with China, and work jointly to defend its legitimate rights and regional safety while firmly standing against unilateralism and hegemony, said Rouhani. The killing of Soleimani on Iraqi soil sparked the anger of mostly Shiite lawmakers who passed a non-binding resolution calling for the ousting of U.S. forces from the country. These attacks also increased after China's strategic agreement with Iran. The future of the U.S.'s military presence in Iraq has been the focus of strategic talks between Baghdad and Washington, with Shiite militia groups insisting on a timeline for withdrawal. Currently, there are around 3,000 troops, including 2,500 U.S. forces, fighting in the anti-Daesh, ISIS coalition. Iraqi political forces have called for the withdrawal of the U.S. troops from the country under a parliamentary decision issued on Jan. 5, 2020.